Thank you.
You are all set and ready to go.
Thank you. Thank you, and welcome to tonight's Public Works Sustainability and Facilities. I did that out of order, but I got them all in there. Meeting January 9th, 2025. We are, let's see, joined by, we'll do a real quick run around. Deputy Mayor Ben Winograd, even though his description says he's Dave Sagers, I know that Dave looks different than that. And we have Town Manager Rick Ledwith, Director Facilities Bob Palmer, Director of Public Works John Phillips. We have our favorite Sustainable West Hartford person, Catherine DeVinny, up there in the upper left. And there's people missing off of my screen, but I know they're here.
We have Catherine Bruns. And then we have
I am not seeing, I'm only seeing 6 folks. So if
other page.
Mr. Town Manager, if you could acknowledge the others, please.
I can, yeah, absolutely, Mr. Chairman. We have John Phillips, our Director of Public Works. We have Catherine Bruns, Recycling Coordinator. We have Dave Sagers, who was the Vice Chair, I believe, and now is the Chair of West Hartford, Sustainable West Hartford Commission. And then we have the former Chairperson, Bernie Pelletier.
Great, welcome everyone. We are waiting just a few moments for Councillor Anderson Blanks to join us. So we will skip the minutes for now and jump to the next item, if that is okay, Mr. Town Manager.
We will, yeah, thank you.
Go, pardon?
Yeah, I can introduce them.
I'm sorry?
I'll introduce the group. Yeah, so
yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
And I will turn my volume up so I can hear you.
Thank you so much. And as I said just a moment ago, we are welcoming Dave Sagers, our chair, new chairperson of the Sustainable West Hartford Commission. We have our former chairperson, Bernie Pelletier, joining us as well. And Dave will be presenting a report to the committee reflecting back on the commission's accomplishments during 2024. And then we will certainly talk about the upcoming year as well. And as the council may remember, we officially merged 2 commissions back in August of 23. And really, as we know, this commission hit the ground in a full sprint at that point. And their work really has been a cornerstone of our town's efforts to create a more sustainable community. And Dave will certainly talk a little bit about their organization, but the working group structure that they formed early on has been very effective in moving their mission forward. And our commission, along with Catherine DeVinny and Catherine Bruns, was very instrumental in helping us achieve sustainable CT Gold certification just a couple of months ago. So, which is further demonstrating our commitment to a more sustainable future. So, certainly thank Bernie for his leadership over the last couple of years. And we know that under Dave's leadership, the commission will continue to move our town forward into 2025 and beyond. So with that said, through you, Mr. Chairman, I will turn things over to Dave. Dave has a PowerPoint that he will be speaking from this evening. And I believe Catherine DeVinny will pull up the PowerPoint for us. Thank you. There it is. Thank you, Catherine.
You okay? Yeah, thank you, Catherine. Clear to go?
You're good.
All right. Yeah, so my intent is not to read all the slides to you, walk through every single one. You have them to read. I really want to focus on 4 of the slides. But Catherine, if you could forward one slide. Or yes, so there we are. There's the commission as well as the the staff liaisons who put so much work in this year. Just want to put face to the efforts that Rick was talking about. Catherine, if you could forward.
Yeah, just let me know when you want me to move. I'm trying over
Yeah,
here.
go ahead. Go ahead and move. We're going to move fast through some of these things. So here's just really what I want to talk about. We want to tell you a little bit about what we did in the last year, what we learned in the last year, kind of challenges and opportunities, what we want to focus on next year, and what we think we need or how we'd like to engage, with the elected leadership and the staff leadership to just be more effective and get more done for the town. So that's kind of the 4 topics. So we'll start with kind of what we did last year, what happened last year. Catherine, if you want to move forward to the next one. Yep. So a lot of activities. Again, I'm not going to talk about each and every one here, but a lot of activities. You can see a lot of public-facing actions. We can move to the next slide. And really a lot of different partners. So I think one of the things that we would say about what this commission is all about, it's about really working with a lot of partners in the community, working with residents, just creating a force times factor. It's not about us. It's about how can we accomplish more for the town or be an extension of the town. In order to do that, we need to reach out and work with partners on different programs. It's more of us orchestrating things, not, because if we limit it to just what the 12 members of the commission can do, we're limited. But if we're working with lots of other outside partners, we can accomplish a great deal more. So that is the key message there. So Catherine, if you can move on to the next item. So here's just highlights from 2024. So we'll talk a little bit later about what Rick mentioned, is we have broken down into working groups to focus on different areas of sustainability. Sustainability is an enormous area, so we need to have some focus. One area was we call nature-based solutions. So there was working with the town to adopt a resolution making West Hartford a pollinator-friendly community. Also, a lot of work was done for Pollinator Garden in Wilka Park. And several workshops, one, I think some in person, some virtual, kind of start education with the public on what they could do to make their yards friendlier, for pollinators and other habitat. Also, sort of advanced some areas, the issues around food scrap diversion, waste reduction. Certainly, that was not a linear path for sure, but essentially we looked at different options and engaged the community a great deal in the proposed idea of unit-based pricing. But ultimately, the goal was to work toward reduction of waste and diverting food scrap. So through all the efforts, we know we've come to an offering, right, that the town will have around food scrap collection. And then I think the plan is, we will still stay involved to support and kind of get the awareness out to the public, of this as much as we can, as well as see, what results are and where it can go in the future. So that was another working group. Another major working group was around clean energy. So in 2024, we ran the Power Smart West Hartford program, and then the annual West Hartford Electric Showcase. Kind of an important thing was, aren't really worked into any formal processes. So one of the things that we thought was an accomplishment was we at least met with 2 developers this year, in the latter part of the year, where essentially they gave a preview of the development plan. So specifically, it was Vessel, right, and also the developers behind former UConn campus. And so we got an opportunity to first see, what they were proposing around sustainable features, and then also talk about, suggestions that we can make for further sustainability, a wide range of things, from wastewater management to solar to rooftops to, energy efficiency, all those things. So, and I think we think that is an area, where there's an opportunity, I think, to eventually adopt, standards, or at least put checklists in front of these, the developers, and get them to consider making the developments more energy efficient. As was mentioned earlier by Rick, we also worked on items that contributed 120 points toward the town's sustainable CT gold level certification and climate leader certification. Apparently it wasn't quite enough to get us to the most points by any town in the state, but really close, and I'm sure we're going to do it next go around. And then finally, we organized and held the Earth Day festival, and it was April 20th. And that was very successful. Quite a lot of vendors and quite a lot of participation from the public in the guise of, essentially spreading the word and educating the public, on sustainable topics. So I don't know if there's any questions about those items or. Yeah. So again, talking about the working groups, basically the idea was to get more done. And so if we relegated our time to being in our monthly meetings, right, we would only get so much done. So a lot of the work is done within groups that are focused on, you said, nature-based solutions, waste management, energy and clean energy, and communications. And so the other thing that this does for us is allows us to involve a lot more people. So we kind of did a rough estimate and said, I think between those working groups and the attendance from outside of commissioners, we had about 45 people actively involved, 45, residents of West Hartford actively involved. And probably next year we'll bring more. And we have quite a few people come to our meetings who aren't necessarily commissioners and who are come to the working group. So I think the idea is to extend that, reach out, and extend our impact beyond just, the commission, essentially. Okay, Catherine, if you can move next. Not going to go through these in detail. These are just each of the working groups and more detail. So if we can slowly forward to next idea. Yeah, and these are the specific items you want to look at that they contribute to the sustainable CT points. I will say, I had an opportunity to go to the sustainable CT, the annual award ceremony, and what really impressed me was, well, besides the fact how much that West Hartford has done, but just the whole structure of it and the whole idea of, just kind of incentivizing towns to do more and slowly work their way up, in steps. And I think, we'd like to, if possible, emulate this in other areas, where we can kind of take topics and say, what small steps can we make forward now, and how can we build on that to bigger steps over time? So I think it's a great framework, really, for bringing municipalities along, from zero to whatever the ultimate is they want to achieve. All right, Catherine, if you could forward. Yeah. So what did we learn? I was you forward again. Please, yeah. So there's a lot of factors that go into getting things done, is kind of what we learned. Not going to go into any of these in particular, but there's a lot of things that balance to kind of achieving. There's a lot of different stakeholders, for a lot of these issues. Catherine, you can forward to the next one. But here's just perspective, and this is by no means criticism, just kind of what we thought about that might be things we could work on to be more productive or just to move sustainability forward with the town. The first is, we do have a number of plans out there. We have the POCD, we have a clean energy plan, and they are a list. They are definitely goals and things to do, but they're not necessarily have roadmaps around them. So one of the ideas, and we'll talk about that a little later with our plans 2025, is perhaps to bring roadmaps around there to say, like, what's the end goal of these plans around these sustainable topics, and kind of how do we get there year over year, and maybe set measurable goals. The other is that while we have a sustainable commission, there is no central sustainable officer budget, right, with the town. So that feels like it makes it a little harder to make, like, in other words, depending on what the topic is, we'll work with different departments, obviously, in the town. But just something to think about, in the long term, is like, perhaps that's something that would make sustainability move, a little faster within the town. The third thing is kind of the biggest thing I want to talk about with our opportunities, with our plans for next year, is I think we felt like we kind of met amongst ourselves all year long. And there were definitely some meetings on specifically the, unit-based pricing topic, but we didn't really have any structure or any cadence to interaction with either, the staff leadership or the elected official leadership. And I think we would benefit from that. I think the town would benefit from that. So I want to talk about some suggestions for that later. And, just really this was just reflecting on things and what could we do and change a little differently next year to kind of set a better baseline for our commission, to make better progress. Any questions or thoughts? You might have it when we get to now what do we do about this, or what we'd like to suggest about this. All right, Catherine, if you want to take it forward, look ahead. Yep. Next one. So thus far, we have much more detailed plans, but just want to keep it very high level. So I think there's kind of three things here. I mean, the first, let's say in the middle, is definitely the next round of work on sustainable CT will be there to support it, and I'm sure Catherine's identifying things that we can do for the 2027 submission. The other two things are, the first thing is this concept called Cool West Hartford. So what we want to do is we really want to have a more effective outreach to residents, and we want a kind of a two-way street, ways in which we can do more education on sustainability topics that residents can act upon, but also ways in which we can get feedback and understand better where residents are, on different topics. So really it boils down to is a concept of Cool Boulder. It was the city of Boulder, Colorado, and the commission, the working group, had talked to the folks behind this to basically understand how it worked. But essentially the whole cool concept was to literally cool the temperature of the earth, right, or temperature of the atmosphere. And so they focused on certain areas, and it was a way of, again, having that two-way communication. We would like to do something similar. It would be part of the West Hartford website. But I think the key thing here is we want to brand it, but we also want to establish, I think we didn't feel like we knew enough about how residents stand on different issues, or how willing they are to change their behavior on different topics. So we really want to better learn that, and also better promote, sustainable practices. And then the last item, the Sustainable Action Plan. So again, I think we discovered there are some plans out there that already exist, like POCD and clean energy. We had topics that we acted upon in 2024. But what we really like to do is work with the staff and work with the council in some way to get kind of an aligned plan, to come up with priorities and things that, that we know are important to you, so that we can further those things, and also make suggestions of things, specific items in those priorities. So we can, Catherine, just roll to the next topic, and one more, please. So this kind of ties in with the ask. Go ahead to the ask. So the first one back. Thanks. The first one is filling vacancies. I think this is in the works. At least we will have, I think, 4 vacancies. 2 of them, I believe, will be filled at the next council meeting, but we'll get there. So I'm not too concerned about that. I think the real thing is number 4, which will lead to some of these others, which we'd kind of like to figure out, and see how the council feels about ways in which we could just kind of have a cadence and some regular communication, kind of both ways, right? Here's what we're doing, or what are your priorities? So we can kind of bring them into our plans as well. One idea that a town clerk had suggested was designating like a town council liaison. Apparently many commissions have them. We do not. We just don't want to operate in a vacuum, or we want to be connected as much as possible. And other ideas is we could have, like informal check-ins with this group. It could be as infrequently as quarterly, just to say, hey, here's what we're doing, or hey, what do you think about this? One of the things, be perfectly honest, right, with the unit-based pricing was it kind of came to like a full idea, and then the question was, is it a good idea? Will it work, et cetera? I think we really want to get better kind of direction or indication of issues much earlier in the process, and that way we can be more aligned, and achieve more. So I think if we had that sort of cadence of interaction, then I think the rest could follow from it, which is, if we are aligned on things and we do need resources in the town, obviously that would be a lot easier to achieve those or to have those than trying to find resources for something that you're really not interested in isn't a priority, you know. So that was kind of the key things. But I think if there's one thing we'd like to do is to have a conversation and to have a, you know, just kind of a level of engagement, is to share information and come up with really a good plan that we know everyone's behind. So I give it, for instance, like in the town of in Massachusetts, several towns put together like greenhouse gas reduction plans, and really those involved a lengthy process, and certainly doesn't be lengthy for us, but of the whole town, residents, the government itself, you know, a commission, volunteers, all that, really coming together and saying, what do we want to accomplish around this, and really concrete plans and a roadmap to get there. But the key thing was everyone buying into it, you know. So I think that's what we would like to achieve, besides the detail work that we're going to do, is kind of come up with a plan that everyone buys into. And so I think to do that, we just need some level of engagement, you know, and sharing of opinions, and ultimately putting something down and writing that we can all, you know, get behind. So that was a lot. I'm sorry I didn't pause maybe often enough and say, hey, any questions? But certainly open up to any comments or thoughts about that.
Are there any questions or comments there? Okay.
I don't have any.
This is Bernie. If I could make a comment.
Absolutely, Bernie.
Thank you very much. You know, Dave and the commission worked on this. The subtext of all of this is, how do we work together and leverage the human capital that we have so much of in West Hartford. It's just like having an asset and not using it is almost a tragedy. And if the last year taught me personally nothing else, it is that in West Hartford, you can't walk 100 feet down the street and not pass an expert in a field, a passionate person, somebody in government, a business person. And by and large, if you give them the canvas to paint on, many people are really willing to come to the table and help. And I just, if I could add one thing, and please don't think I'm an egomaniac, but I want to use on this personal comment 2 presidential examples. One being Joe Biden. One reason I'm so pleased that Mr. Sagers has taken over the chairmanship is I looked at how long it took for us to pass the torch in an effective way. I said to myself, I do not want to replicate that mistake. That's one example. And another personal thing is the president who is being eulogized today contributed after he left the official office. And it's my intent, I am not Jimmy Carter, but it is my intent to, as best possible in my power, to follow that example. But I've watched Dave operate for, this whole session, and I'm so pleased that you took over, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernie.
Give you more time, huh, Bernie?
Thank you, Bernie, and thank you, Dave, for the presentation. And I am curious, and I don't know if Mr. Ledwith, you can answer this question as to why there's not a liaison for this particular group. I know that some do, some don't, and I don't know. I personally don't know why one gets one and one doesn't. So, if you can enlighten me.
So I think it's really council prerogative, Mr. Chair. So you certainly can, there's nothing holding you back from assigning a council liaison to this particular commission. Certainly some of the comments and Dave and Bernie and your entire commission, thank you for putting together this presentation. And I think that screen with the asks was something for us all to take seriously and consider. And so, assigning the liaison, certainly we can set up a time for us to talk, and it doesn't necessarily just have to be just me by myself, but with whether it's John Phillips, if that's a particular topic, Todd Dumay, our town planner, we can figure out the right personnel that we would invite to those meetings, whether it's, every other month or something like that, or whatever, we think works best for keeping the workflow of the commission moving. So yeah, we can certainly set that up as well. So Mr. Chair, I'd leave it, up to you and the council in terms of who you think would be the right liaison to work with the commission, whether it's yourself or others. And then we can also talk about a regular meeting for the commission to come back like they did tonight to check in with this committee as a whole. So whether that's quarterly or, twice a year, again, it's, we can figure out what the best schedule would be for that meeting schedule as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think it would be probably a good idea to explore that and delve into it a little bit deeper. And I also think it's important to look that, there were a lot of successes of the commission this last year. And I think that everybody wants the same goals eventually. It's how quickly can we get there is always a big question. And some things we can move lightning speed, and other things, sometimes take a little bit longer, and we may not want them to, but that's how it is at times. And so I think just working together and working closely, we can work towards as many goals as we can, and just keep going, and we'll get there. So thank you again for the report, and thank you, Bernie, for your leadership there as well. And I think we're probably in good hands with Dave. So
You certainly are. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. So are there any other questions or comments on our presentation tonight, or can we flip back to the minutes, perhaps, now that Councilor Blanks was able to get through and join us? All right, so we'll go back and do the minutes. We're looking at the. Good night, Bernie. Thank you again.
Thanks, everyone.
We're going to go back and look at the approval of minutes for November 14th, 2024. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Blanks. And I guess I second. And we approve the minutes. We will go ahead and go to communications. Do we have any communications that?
Nothing this evening, Mr. Chairman. We could move to staff reports, and Mr. Phillips would be up first.
All right. Welcome, Mr. Phillips. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say. There might be a couple exciting little tidbits in there.
Yes, thank you, Councilman Walters. John Phillips, Director of Public Works. Thank you for having me this evening. So our monthly report, again, reflecting mostly on what we did in December, just reflects that we're doing all of our core work and keeping up with the transportation system and our ground systems throughout the town. Certainly very active on that front. We've had a couple weather events that have affected us. Nothing really plowable, all been in the more of the lower 1 to 2 inch range and treating activities. And so we continue to monitor our weather, and the teams are really pretty much ready to do all that. And we try to backfill in between storm and snow and ice control with meaningful work. We had a water main break here at Brixton Street. We did complete a couple projects out in the field, West Hills conduit repair project. The West Hill neighborhood was completed, which was a long, outstanding project for us. And obviously finishing and completing all of our fall cleanups in our parks and everywhere. And we're also able to keep up with our MS4 responsibilities with street sweeping. We were able to sweep throughout the month of December, as well as to clean our catch basins. A real notable I want to draw attention to, and probably what will be seen through the public's eye, but hopefully it'll be seen through a slow process. But our hauler, Paynes Incorporated, who hauls our waste recycling from the curb, has merged with All American Waste. That merger went official late last year, early part of January. And so they're in that process now of transitioning leadership and transitioning front-end management. The end users, which is our residents, where we collect waste at the curb, will see no changes. The trash will still be collected on their day. The routes will not change. The time the trucks come by should not change. What you'll see in minor changes is that All Waste or All American Waste will give Paynes contract a deeper bench, if you would, of resources. So should a Paynes truck go down, an All American Waste truck would substitute that Paynes truck who might have been broken down. You'll also start seeing slowly where All American Waste will start taking over some of the commercial contracts. So you'll see those trucks throughout town doing commercial work more frequently. And then as they recapitalize trucks, they won't buy a truck that's painted with Paynes' logo. The recapitalization of that equipment will be an All American Waste trash truck. But from a customer service standpoint, all the services that are delivered by Paynes in their contract, none of that will change. And we expect the transition to be seamless and without any issues whatsoever. All American Waste is a family-owned business, just like Paynes, just bigger. They have tons more resources than Paynes has. And so we look forward to a bright future with working with their expertise and their knowledge on waste management and how best to deliver the services to the town of West Hartford in the future. Also notable, which went public this month, just recently, actually this week, is municipal parking. And before I start with that, a lot of credit needs to go to Brooke Nelson, our municipal parking operations manager. She launched, the municipal parking division launched a park finding app this week, powered by Modi. Brooke Nelson and her team worked diligently with this app company to develop this opportunity for not only residents, but anybody coming into the town of West Hartford. And make a long story short on that, it's really a tool for anybody coming into town that they should use before coming into town or when they're planning out their destination of West Hartford Center. It allows you to pick your destination, whether it be a restaurant or a store or even a professional service. This map highlights those services or those destinations and then associates it with its close proximity parking. As you know, our on-street parking is obviously the most favorable, the most desired parking that we have in town. Everybody wants an on-street space, but we run north of 95% occupancy on those spaces. So where do you park next? And so the goal is to put information in the hands of the people coming to West Hartford Center and show them where else they can park and still make their destination. And then I'll also link them to the opportunities to our paid systems and what our rate structures are in those locations. And it will bring them to our apps that allow you to pay through your mobile phone without having to use a kiosk. So I'm real excited about that launch. Early reviews from both merchants and a few residents on the street we're using it and they liked it. So as we get feedback, we'll continue to tweak it and we'll continue to use it in the best interest of West Hartford's Central Business District, Blueback Square in the center, as well as any other construction projects that may happen within that center area. Outside of that, it's a standard midwinter month for us, and we keep busy with our activities there.
All set. That was very brief tonight.
Pretty brief, yeah. Winter's kind of hard. We're just a maintenance outfit at the end of the day, Barry.
Yeah, that's all right. So yes, I do acknowledge Brooke Nelson and the effort that she and her department has put into this parking app. And my understanding too is that this is kind of a foundationary type thing, that it has the capability to be built upon and improved upon as the need and the resources are there to do so. So I think it's a great idea. I also understand that despite the fact that we have not had any major snowstorms, knock on wood, it is still, obviously, even with a 1 or 2 inch snowfall or ice, the clearer the roads are, the clearer our streets are, the easier it is for you to prep them and to clear them. So, I think it's a good idea to remind folks that if there's snow in the forecast, try to put your car in the driveway and keep the streets as clear as possible. And so I just wanted to, I heard that somewhere, so I wanted to bring that out and put that out there for you.
Councilman Berry, I appreciate you bringing that up. And yeah, that's whether no matter what winter it is, we are in winter, and on-street parking and parking in neighborhoods when during a snow event is very challenging for public works staff, for their safety, as well as for our overall objective is to clean the streets so that we have a clean and usable street post-storm. Again, as we all know in this committee, as the town knows, it's a very walkable community. And so the safer we can make the roads for post-storm activities, the sooner we can go back to walking, using our entire transportation system, not just for our cars and vehicles that drive on them. So it is important. And when you have these, winters that we've had the last couple of years, and like this one, are getting off to a slow start of measurable snow and really feeling the clutches of winter in that sense, we tend to forget about where we park our cars and the parking bans that we have to use. So we'll use them when we need them, certainly, but certainly a good rule of thumb this time of year, if you can find and use safe off-street parking, it should be your practice during these months. Because again, this weekend storm was a good example. We're not sure if we're going to get something measurable, might get a dusting, could get something in between. But if anything that coats the street whites, we have to act, and the crews will be out treating the roads to make them safe for travel. And again, the cleaner the street is from a structure standpoint, like vehicles, the better we can get our job done more efficiently, safely for everybody. And so I thank you for bringing that up. And I can assure you the crews appreciate the fact that you brought that up and wanted to make mention of it this committee.
No worries. I got your back.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Town Man, does anybody have any questions? I'm sorry, before I skip on to the next thing. Councilor Blanks, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, no questions, comments. Mr. Phillips, I just wanted to echo the great job of Brooke Nelson. Fox 61 did a story on that app last night, one of their new reporters, and I thought she did a fantastic job. And when interviewing Brooke Nelson, she was very clear in terms of providing tips and information on how to use the app. And I love how she commented on using it before you leave home so that you would pay attention to road and traffic safety. So just kudos to her, and she's doing a good job. Thank you.
Carol, I appreciate that. I'll make sure I pass that word on. And yeah, 61 did an excellent job. That was an excellent story. They did that reporter did a real good job summarizing the capabilities and the use of the app.
Yes, thank you.
We'll have to let her parents know that she did a good job. Okay, Mr. Ledwith, are we moving on to?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And one other thing. I'm sorry, go ahead. Oh, Tiffany has her, Councilor McGinnis has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't see everybody. So go ahead, Councilor McGinnis.
I apologize for not being on camera, but I had a question when you started giving your report. It sound cut out for a second. There was, I believe it was right after Christmas on Asylum. There was a lot of ice in front of the St. Joseph property, and they were digging up something and doing something in front of St. Joseph. Did that have to do with Public Works, or was that something had leaked out onto the road and it was covered with ice and they had the road blocked off for a short period of time because of the amount of ice that was on the road?
Yep, that was this time of year, because of the cold weather we're having, the frost starts penetrating the ground, and you get your water main breaks. Usually they start at the water gate valves that are in the street, but they can expand other places. But that work was definitely related to an MDC water main break. The ice in the road was just the water that oozes out and then obviously freezes up. Very common this time of year. We had 2 yesterday. I think we've cleared so far today. But yeah, that's exactly what you saw there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And Bear, if I could circle back real quick, also, weha.com did a great story on that app, and there's still a great resource to refer to by holding the QR code that's still in that article. So it's another great opportunity for residents to circle back on that if they missed that and want a quick way to get to the app and its features.
Excellent. Thank you. And I apologize because I cannot see everybody on my screen. So if there's anybody else who has a question or comment, please say so. And we will address that. All right, hearing nothing, we will move on. So,
thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just really wanted to follow up with a quick comment on John's report as well. And his team, and he highlights the work that they do, keeping our community safe and clean. And but they also play a very, and I mentioned this yesterday at the Public Safety Committee meeting, an integral part on our public safety team. We had the 2 big events that I spoke about in December with the ones I highlighted were this holiday stroll in the center in Blueback Square, and then the Fire and Ice celebration on December 29th. We also had the road race as well. But those 2, his team just does a remarkable job of supporting our police and fire and keeping both of those events safe. And notably, when for the December 29th event for the Fire and Ice celebration, we had John's vehicles, the Public Works vehicles at every location within the parking lot, ensuring that no one has the ability to drive in and create any kind of disturbance. Or so they are as much a part of our public safety team as our police officers are in keeping those events safe. So really do appreciate the work of our Public Works team in helping and supporting all of those types of events that happen throughout the year. So that said, Mr. Palmer is up next with the facilities report. However, Bob had to leave early, had to leave at 6:30 to head to another meeting. But I will just highlight 2 things from his report, and then we can roll over the rest to February. But as you know, we have hired an architect for the Elmwood Community Center, the new Elmwood Community Center, Senior Center, and Library on Mayflower. And Bob is working with Helen Rubino Turco and Laura Ermsher from a staff perspective on that process. And they are in the schematic design of the facility. And we will be setting up a meeting with our Human and Community Services Committee to invite the architect in, if not this month, then next month, to make a presentation to our council on where they are with that schematic design process. So we're also in the process of went out to bid for a construction manager for the new center, and are in the process now of interviewing those finalists. As you also know, we went out to bid for our animal control facility. Those bids are back, and Bob and his team are working on the finalist process, or through the finalist process, for our new animal control facility down at Brixton Street. So just wanted to highlight those 2 things. We can roll the rest of Bob's report over into February, but certainly happy to answer any questions that the committee may have on any of those topics that I mentioned. Before we move on to Catherine Davini and our sustainability update.
do we have any questions or comments, Councilor Blanks?
No, I have none at this time. Thank you, Mr. Walters.
You're welcome. I just wanted to check in and see if the timeline was still the same for the Animal Control Center.
It is, yeah. So we would, Bob and his team are interviewing the finalists now. We moved some ARPA funds over into that financial process, so to speak. So that will help. And yeah, we will make even possibly before our next meeting, have a decision on who that contractor may be, and then we can report out in February.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Deputy Mayor or Councilor McGinnis, do either of you have any questions or comments?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
And I will take Mr. Winograd's silence as he's all set. So that means it's Catherine DeVinny's turn.
Great, thank you very much. Well, I kept the sustainability update pretty lean since we had the presentation from the commission and Dave on their annual report. So just the main thing that is in the works from an energy perspective is the utility budget for fiscal year 26. So I just wanted to highlight that we done the preliminary numbers for the Board of Ed, not the town yet. And it looks like we're going to come under budget, probably for both. And that next year budget will be similar to this year's budget. One thing I did want to highlight is that the low electricity supply rate that the town has been taking advantage of for several years now through our supply contract. We had a low rate of 7.19 cents per kilowatt hour. That is unfortunately ending. Our contract ends this December, and our new rate is going up by about 30% to 9.7 cents per kilowatt hour. Now that's still below where the market is, but it's a big jump. So that will be incorporated into the utility budget. But I still think we'll be able to maintain our budgets pretty close to where they were previously. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about that. And I did want to mention, so electricity supply, I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with this from your own residential bills. Supply is only a portion of your electric bills. And when you actually get to commercial rate schedules, it's less than half. So that 30% jump to 9.7 cents is not going to be as big a hit because the majority of our bill is on the demand or the delivery side. So if there are any questions for me on kind of energy related stuff, otherwise tonight we have Catherine Bruns, our recycling coordinator, on the call as well. So I'm going to turn it over to her just to give you a few updates on recycling. Thanks.
Excellent.
Thank you, Catherine Bruns, recycling coordinator. Just a short update. We're always excited when a new school comes on board. And finally, I have the second to the last elementary school geared up and ready to go. Walcott Elementary School will start with their food scrap composting on the 21st, which is great. I had the great pleasure of taking a visiting group from Simsbury High School along with their teacher. They are really keen to get programs like this going. And I arbitrarily picked Whiting Lane School to go to show this teacher and 3 high school students what we do here in West Hartford. And I hadn't been there in a while, and I was just so pleased to see how well it's going. It's just, once you start and they get the hang of it, it is not rocket science. So it's a great program. But then after that, we only have Whiting Lane left. Webster Hill is where I took them, sorry. And then we have only Whiting Lane to go, so that's great. And then Bristow Middle School should be our next, we'll start with the older kids. And then I've been exploring and got talked to John Phillips and Bob Palmer a lot of residents really want options for recycling difficult items like prescription bottles, razors, those K-cup coffee pods. And there are national programs for that. And Middletown has a great setup. If you've ever been in their city hall, when you go in, it's called a recycling nook. And so they've set up arrangements. And I'm doing that research and have the permission to set up 2 or 3 drop-off locations in town hall, which I think will be a great opportunity to also share information about how, you know, we can keep diverting things from our waste stream and find better uses for it. So so that's cool. And then today I have getting close to a final draft of our new recycling mailer, and I'm really excited about it. It's sort of more of a checklist or a flow that teaches you how to think about your item. So it helps you understand which item's recyclable and what's not, rather than just having because you can't have an exhaustive list about items that are allowed in recycling and items that aren't. So it gives you the principles and guidelines of how to look at an item and think for yourself, which is cool, and then gives resources to delve further into it. So that'll be a postcard mailer that goes out next sometime in the next few months, I would imagine. So yeah, and then I don't know, John, we have the food scrap containers, the drop off. John, you might have talked about that in a previous meeting, but we'll have 4 different locations to drop off food scraps. So that's also something that residents really want. And we're excited now when people say, what are we going to do about food scraps? I'm very happy to be able to say, we'll have an option soon. So that's all I have. If there's any questions.
Thank you, Catherine. And I think that postcard, it'll be a nice little thing that people can, I don't know, just put a magnet on and put it on their fridge or something, because I know people get all confused as to what goes where and what can I throw away and what can't I what can I put in the recycling.
And we'll point to all the other great resources we have in town. We're squeezing a lot onto that postcard. We did one in 2020, about 4 years ago. So it's time to send out a new one. 2022, I think.
To revisit.
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of revisiting, I know that we've already discussed it, but those food scrap locations, the first ones to be rolling out, can we have a reminder of just where those will be going?
Well, one will be at Town Hall, Northfield Field, Eisenhower, and then Arapahoe. Is that right?
No, down at Brixton Street. We'll have it at their transfer station at Brixton Street. So those will be the first 4 locations.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. I think that's worth noting again, because it is an exciting thing, I think. And thank you for that quick report from both of you. And I will go back to Mr. Ledwith. Is there anything else that?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to ask for questions and comments.
Nope, that's okay. That's okay. Just 2 quick comments. Catherine, and also to you, Mr. Chair. I am looking forward to those drop-off locations. And I know we had mentioned this in another meeting, that with the holidays, just concluding, and I know we're only supposed to keep our leftovers for so long, but you really hate to throw good food away. And I could have really used those food scrap locations.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they'll be there for the next big holiday. So that's
exactly. So I would definitely welcome some more reminders, the postcards, and even those magnetic attachments that you could put onto the refrigerators or whatever we could use as some reminders for everybody who's looking forward to that notice. And then another kudos to Mr. Phillips and your team with the electronic drop-off locations over the holiday, the post-holiday. That was such a beautiful event. And your team, again, they were so right on, happy, friendly, offering to assist people with their cardboard and their electronic. And we had beautiful weather as well. So That was wonderful. I liked when we offer those things in towns. It's great. So that's my comment, Mr. Walters. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Blanks. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I guess we can move on. You know, this I got to say, this Public Works Facilities and Sustainable team here is pretty spot on and rocking. So I'm very proud of all of them and glad that we have them on our team here in West Hartford. So, Mr. Ledwith.
Nothing more, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Well, I guess that means we get to adjourn. Is that what you're telling me? All right.
You had a
All
motion.
right. Well, we'll make a motion to adjourn and make a motion to stay warm. Do I have a second on either one of those?
So moved.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Blanks. All right. Have a great evening. Stay warm, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks,
night,
everyone.
everybody.
Good night,
Thank you.
everybody.
Good night.